speak for the group. And you're limited to 3 minutes. So we're ready for public comment. Thank you.
Hi there, Karen Zimmerman. I want to talk to you about and give you a status update on TIF 2 and TIF 4 in Edwardsville. Wouldn't have to do this if the city would have conducted the statutorily required joint review board, but since they didn't, I just left the final. I'll tell you what they're up to. Basically, what they just did is approve expenditures that are outside of the law and outside of what's been in the approved budget. Now, that approved budget, the only things that they could be spending the surplus in TIF 2 on right now is projects within TIF 4, that's in the immediate vicinity of Lewis and Clark Community College Center for Humanities, and that would be to rehabilitate residential structures and other structures that are primarily in a neighborhood of 50% low income and 50% minority. So instead of doing that or giving it back, giving the surplus back to the taxing districts, that would be you folks, so that you can actually put it in your general fund, they thought it was more appropriate to basically approve spending $250,000 for a property that has increased in value from $250,000 to $400,000 in the last, 18, 20 years, so that this individual, because he just bought it and gee whiz, he needs $250,000 so he can put a brewery with a restaurant. So this is the second time within, about 8 months that Lewis and Clark funds that could go back into your general fund to offset tuition or whatever other expenses, same with the other taxing bodies, have been used to fund bars and restaurants. So I guess we know where the city of Edwardsville's priorities are with respect to low income, minorities, and education. So again, would like for you folks, since you are an overlapping taxing district, to compel a forensic audit. You had your attorneys reach out to me. I'm just going to tell you, I can't deal with attorneys. All they want to do is argue with you until you want your head to explode. I come from a finance background and a systems background. I will be happy to talk to any accountant, particularly a forensic one, and we can cut to the chase pretty quick because I've done the research over the last 5 years and have everything is based on data. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. You all right? Sorry. You okay? Yeah. Good evening, board members. My name is Ashley Britt, and I am the current president of the Student Government Association here on campus. I'm going to be speaking in reference tonight to the discussed termination of Dale Chapman, as well as discussion of Bill HB 3944. You may remember me from a few meetings or so ago where I told you all that the community and the students had their eyes on you. Well, now we've seen enough. I, along with many others in the community, had also implored you to consider your decision of not renewing Dr. Dale Chapman's contract, which you've clearly ignored. Why are we doing this all over again? Why fire a good man from his job, which he is good at, because it's before his literal last semester here, and you've already gotten what you wanted? Let the school have this last semester to give him a proper goodbye. Speaking of students, I have worked closely for months with current student trustee April Tolgetsky and can say with confidence that she has handled this job with grace and honor. Yet, you have made yourselves abundantly clear at best that April's vote is only advisory and therefore has no real power. And you've made it even clearer that you have no interest in hearing anything that she or the students have to say on any of the changes that you have made. An advisory vote doesn't help if you actively ignore advisory no matter what. The bill HB 3944 could allow her the proper vote that could truly make a difference and create chances for dialogue and compromise instead of a swift tyrannical ruling on everything that we as students hold dear. April reads the same agendas and motions as the rest of you and goes over the same numbers as the rest of you and is here for every meeting alongside the rest of you. April deserves the same respect and power as the rest of you. Should this bill get passed and be allowed for public vote, for those with concerns about who could take April's place in the future, may be worried about an uninformed student or a position of power, I reassure you. Myself and other student government executives are looking into altering our student government constitution in order to raise the criteria to qualify for running for student trustee, a position that some students aren't even aware of exists, let alone rush into trying to be one. I cannot emphasize enough how seriously that we as students are taking this opportunity. The students' trustees' voice is our voice, and our voice demands to be heard. So whenever, should that time come to vote, please vote in favor of HB 3944. Thank you.
Dwayne Bailey, retired associate judge. I see you didn't pay any attention to the first time I talked about these extensive documents that are really a waste of time and waste of money. I'm here today to give you your report card, but I changed my mind because I was going to look at your transparency, your campaign, what you achieved, what your goals were, and I'm going to show you where you fell short, but none of that's necessary now. You apparently have decided to discharge Dr. Dale Chapman within the last 48 hours. He's gone. Well, if that is true, and I believe it very much is, you're more into the impeachment of Donald Trump than you are for a report card. Situation is very similar. It's a prosecution on both sides as to who did what correctly and who did what wrong. You've been judge, jury, without even really looking at the facts. As easily as the last board meeting, you were looking for something that I hope's not there, but might be there. Oh, by the way, the person going to do the work is a friend of mine. This shows me that you're not prepared, and what you're doing is something that's going to cause consequences for this college as well as other universities. Bear in mind, this college is a far sight better than it was under Neil Admire some 20 years ago. You complain about buildings, but the buildings here are stellar compared to SWIC. You complain about the faculty salaries. Well, I don't think you have to worry about that. Quite a few faculty are going to leave now because they know they cannot trust this board to support whoever is the head of education here. Finally, I would say to our esteemed attorney, let me just remind you, sir, that you work for the whole board, not for the chairman, not for the majority of the board, the whole board. You have to be the level playing field. You cannot be like the Democrats' lead counsel or Republicans' lead counsel. Your loyalty is to the whole board. If you do that, you'll be fine. If you don't, I think you're going to find yourself with the same problems that they have in Washington, D.C. God bless the facility, and God bless Dr. Dale Chapman.
Donna Eaglehoff, discussion item V regarding HB 3944 does not have an implication statement. Let me elaborate. I am fighting for the students of the state of Illinois and helping them have a voice. If they are capable of voting for elected officials, they are capable of making a vote on a board. Just because elected officials are voted in does not qualify you to make sound decisions either. The second half of this piece of the legislation also prohibits board members from becoming president if the president seat is open. That is why this bill is so important. This leads to action AC, which we are going to have a representation for the ICC trustee. I'm sure it'll be Miss Julie Johnson, since she has been in contact with Tom Ryder, who is an attorney for the ICC trustee. Tom Ryder is obligated to contact the chairman if there's legislation, and so Miss Julie's been involved with that. But unfortunately, she's also taken up with the slander, the libel, the defaming within the newspapers and certain media. Discussion W, listening sessions. I'm kind of tickled about this one because I think original board members told them back in April that they need to learn about the college. We had community members, and I myself invited you to have conversation with me. Are you listening tonight? This is our session. You want to make things right, you make a motion to rescind action item AB, and you make that pass. If you continue with your script tonight, Miss Julie, I'm talking, please. If you continue with this script, I'm afraid that my schedule will be full and I will deny your request for a learning session. Finally, action item AC. If any board gets nominated to fill this position, I too am submitting my name. I have more years of higher education than the four of you put together. I understand you have a master's degree, so don't I. My character amongst this community is beyond reproach, and my leadership within this institution is subpar than the board of four. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I got a message from one of the citizens they want me to read. If I could read it during public comment. I write to you this morning with a heavy heart about the agenda for tonight's LCC board meeting. We were devastated by today's turns of events. I'm overwhelmed to think that this could mean for our workforce development needs, education for our young people, and the economy of the region. I've been blessed to work with and be supported by Dale Chapman throughout my career. Give him my appreciation and my respect and my love. It's apparent that members of the board are putting a political agenda in front of their needs of our citizens. As a taxpayer, I feel this is unacceptable. My prayers are with Dr. Chapman and the LCC board tonight.
My name's Alan Leish. Some of you may recall I spoke to you at the very first, and Kevin, you and I had a lengthy lunch discussing many issues on this campus. And I came up from Texas for this meeting, and I want to say to Linda, I wish Dale was here. Thank you for your service. It's what you and Dale have accomplished in this community is incredible. And I am so sorry this is happening this way. I just want you to know how much we appreciate you and how much we appreciate what Dale has done. And please, please, don't judge the community by 4 ignoramuses. Would you not do that? You know, and second thought, maybe that's too big a word. Maybe stupid or something else is more appropriate. I don't mean to be disrespectful, folks, but this university has been named one of the top 150 schools in the nation. And for you to do something like this, to this kind of success, over what? Over what? If you recall in our early conversation, I said before departing, please don't what, Kevin? What did I say? Don't screw it up, right? and you're doing that. We're going to see higher tuition for students. You're going to cost more taxes for the taxpayer. I've been board chairman for 50 years, and I have started and run two companies. I have never seen such incompetence. And the unfortunate part is we as voters can't undo what we did before. I wish we had the opportunity, because if we did, I don't think you'd be sitting there. I don't know what else to say except thank you, Linda. Please express my gratitude to Dale and the faculty and the administration here at the college. Please continue to do continue the good work that you have done in the past. We appreciate it. We thank you for it. And I guess in time, this too will go away.
My name's T.A. Ambrose, and would like to thank the Lord Jesus for being here tonight. And anyway, this last gentleman, the words weren't very kind, and I would like to thank the board for all the hard work they're doing, and I think the college is going to see some good days now with the board members that we have right now. We have a lot to look forward to, and name calling and the rest of it isn't going to solve the problems. You have to work together, and again, I would like to thank the board for all their hard work. They're not being paid $150,000 a year to do all this work. Thank you.
Any other public comments? That's the end of public comment now. There you go. Any one wish to pull any of the items from the omnibus bill?
I wish to pull item I.
I wish to pull item J.
Any other items pulled? I need a motion to approve all the items except I and J. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve all items under the omnibus bill agenda except I and J. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I do have a question on item H. It's just a question. I believe that it's on page 64. I'm just questioning that where it says campus safety contractual services. Is that Securitas? Is that what we're talking about there?
That's our current, Securitas is our current.
The current provider.
Right. Uh-huh.
And this is to obtain bids for
Right.
to look at different
Exactly.
options. Okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote to approve all items except I and J under the omnibus bill.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Hanfelder, Rust,
Yes.
Watson, McCain, Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Now we need a motion to approve I, contracts requiring board approval. And then we'll have the discussion after the motion has been made and seconded. We have a motion to approve item I.
So move.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion's been made to approve item I, and it's been seconded. Any discussion?
I would like to know more about the contract listed on page 65 with, 66, with Cornerstone Government Affairs Incorporated. It's for $100,000 for the next year. And I understand that has to do with iGen, but when you look at the contract, it's not with Lewis and Clark, so it's a little confusing why we're paying this company $100,000. So if anybody could explain that to me.
I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities, but I know Rob Hilgenbrink is here with iGen, and if Mary has anything to add in. But iGen is a consortia of community colleges throughout Illinois, and they are not their own entity. So as you may recall, Lewis and Clark is the fiscal agent responsible for that. So the steering committee of iGen has recommended entering into this agreement with Cornerstone, and those funds that would be used to pay that contract would not be college funds. Those come from the budget for iGen, which is made up of dues from those member organizations.
Okay. It just seems odd that the contract is between two other entities and not Lewis and Clark.
I didn't see the contract. Do you recall what entities?
Okay, let me look.
Oh, CLC and Lewis and Clark. No.
Sorry, I got to figure out which.
Cornerstone and iGen.
Yeah, what page is it on? Page 186. So that's what's a little confusing. It's between Cornerstone and iGen, and iGen's located in Grays Lake, Illinois. I guess that doesn't matter, but Cornerstone is in Washington D.C. So.
Yeah, so the executive director of iGen is based out of CLC in Grays Lake, which would become their mailing address then.
So tell me again, who exactly approved this then? Somebody at iGen or somebody who?
There's a steering committee, Rob, if you want to speak to that. There's a steering committee that's made up of Illinois Community College presidents, if I'm not mistaken, who would have taken that vote.
Is this on? Hi, I'm Rob Hilgenbrink. I'm a financial advisor for iGen. Our executive director is contracted through college at Lake County. iGen is a presidential-led organization of all the community colleges in the state, and it's governed by a steering committee of 6 community colleges. And so they make the governing decisions and are recommending that the administrative colleges at Heartland and Bloomington, and the fiscal agent college is Lewis and Clark. And so the steering committee makes the recommendations. We have a small staff on awarding the various projects through the grant that we've received, which is a renewable energy trust fund. It's grant dollars that comes through this current year, Secretary of State. Next year will be Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. And that money has to be used for projects in renewable energy on the college campuses. and there is some administrative cost that's recoverable through to operate the network. That's also part of the funding. So they make the decisions on the grant portion of it, and then the dues, the steering committee sets dues that are collected from member colleges, and that money is set aside for consulting that's not eligible under the grant. So Cornerstone is a consulting company that we use to make sure we get the funding each year through the trust fund, because at times those trust fund monies have been swept, so we want to make sure that legislature is aware of what we're doing with the money with the colleges. So that money is set aside at Lewis and Clark in a restricted fund as an organizational account, basically. And so the contract technically would be with Lewis and Clark serving as the fiscal agent for IGEN. Be glad to answer any questions.
No, that made it clear. From the paperwork here, I understand it now that you explained it. It wasn't clear where the money was coming from. So to me, it looked like it was coming from Lewis and Clark, but it's coming from the IGEN consortium's funds,
yes,
which are directed by the steering committee.
That's correct.
Okay, and then related to that, then on the page before, there's a $127,000 subaward to Lewis and Clark.
That's coming out of the grant funds for approved projects at Lewis and Clark.
So that's somebody in Springfield deciding, or who decides?
The steering committee staff, there's a whole process that is, the colleges apply for projects that meet the guidelines of the grant. Okay. And basically Nate Keener here at the college is the one that's puts that together.
That's in here.
It's for renewable energy projects at the college. And then the steering committee has a staff of 3 or 4 people really that meet and make sure that the application from each college meets the criteria, and you know the thresholds are high enough that, you know, as long as they meet the criteria, they would get approved because we have the funding to do that.
Okay. And just from a taxpayer's perspective, what does Cornerstone do for the IGEN effort?
Cornerstone is a legislation advocacy organization that makes sure that funding that is it comes from utilities that are collected through the utility bills. It goes to the utility companies. They give it to the state under a trust fund called the Renewable Energy Resources Trust Fund. As I said, sometimes those funds, there's a lot of competition for those funds, and we have a bill that was passed 3 years ago that says $2 million of that trust fund money is allocated to the Illinois Green Economy Network, but it still has to be put in the budget each year. So there's 2 steps. The bill says the money, if it's available, would go to IGEN, and then the budget appropriation process each year has to be funded through the state budget. It's still not taxpayer money. It's restricted, resource trust fund money. But because of the competition with other organizations, it may not go to the community colleges unless somebody is in an advocacy role, making sure the legislature understands the purpose of the money and that, what's been done with it. So we'll be providing, in addition to the explanation of why we need it, we'll also be reporting back, and Cornerstone will assist us to compile a report to the legislators each district would be working with their local legislature to make sure they understand what they're doing with the project money.
Okay, so it's money that comes from utility bills, goes to the utility.
None of that money goes to Cornerstone. Only the dues that the college pays funds Cornerstone. We can't use the grant money for legislative advocacy.
Okay, yeah, I think you said it. So as fiscal agent, we must keep that money separate.
Right, that's correct. It's kept in a separate account from the grant money.
Okay.
Would the phrase legislative advocacy, would that be the same as lobbying or lobbyist?
It probably goes beyond that. I suppose that could be.
But it would include that.
It would include that, yes.
How many dollars would you guess that the college has received through their association of Cornerstone in the last year or two?
With the operating funds and the project funds, which were enumerated, Lewis and Clark receives about $270,000 to $300,000. There's $2 million statewide that's available under each year under the appropriation. So we've gotten 2 years, and to keep the $2 million coming each year, that's what we hope that legislative advocacy would provide. In addition to the network operation and the direct funds from the Renewable Energy Trust Fund, the iGen organization is also able to get other sustainability type projects and funding. We also have a Department of Energy grant, which is $1,250,000 over 3 years, and Lewis and Clark serves as the fiscal agent for that money as well, and it's also in the specifically solar energy field, and those are distributed to 6 colleges across the state. So iGen can serve as a vehicle for a lot of renewable energy type projects.
So you're more than covering our cost, our membership.
The membership, there's 2 levels. There's 3,000, and then lead colleges 10,000. We have 10 colleges that are lead colleges, and Mary, remind me, I think 15 that are base colleges. But all the colleges are eligible, and but they're not to join iGen, but they don't get the grant funding unless they're a member. Any other?
I'm sorry. Thank you very much for that information, but I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry.
Rob Hilgenbrink.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question with regard to page 181, new growth. It says grant writing for $8,000, and then on page 185, it talks about new growth again, and on page 187, it's 12 payments of $8,333.33. Why do we need new growth, and what does it do for us?
So Sean Hill is here tonight and can talk about, this is grant writing for a TRIO student support services grant that we don't currently have, but I'll let you explain it.
Correct. Sometime this summer, the board approved the usage of what I estimated about $10,000 in college funds toward a student support services grant. It's a 5-year grant worth typically around $1 million to $1.5 million. The grant serves first-generation, low-income students, students with disabilities, as well as veterans, students with who come from various disadvantaged backgrounds. The idea is because these students often have challenges within their families and communities, these are the students that we want to help succeed in various ways. And so to the extent that we can have a program here that is fully federally funded would be an advantage to us. So again, we're looking to serve probably somewhere around, we had a meeting today, at least 140 students, probably it'll be closer to 200 students, but the grant period, the grant will be active sometime within the next few weeks and likely be due sometime in February. But the idea is anything we can do to help our students succeed, graduate, transfer, be retained, helps us in terms of our rates that we report to state and IPED, and also helps those students stay progress.
So those funds would be used to pay a grant writer to go after that grant that was approved by the board in June, I believe it was.
Yes. Yes, we have.
Don't we have a number of, a lot of people that write grants here, right? What special expertise do they have that, where we need their expertise? What's so special about it?
They're effective. They have successfully written multiple grants for the institution, and this is a highly competitive federal grant. There's always a little bit of uncertainty about to what extent the funds are going to be released based on timetables and based on fighting within the federal government. But ultimately, for this kind of grant, you want someone who's has history writing this type of grant, who has success writing this type of grant, and New Growth has been very helpful and successful for the institution.
Do you think it might be worthwhile for us to develop that talent in-house?
We could. In my experience working with grant writers, though, the best ones often branch out and go on their own anyway. So it's oftentimes people end up training grant writers who end up being successful and drifting off anyway. So it's often, and they end up in places like New Growth.
Any other discussion? If not, call for the vote.
Sorry. Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain? Yes. Wertz?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve item J, purchases requiring board approval, pages 206 through 256. Is there a motion?
So move.
Okay. Bob made the motion. We need a second. Brenda's motion's been made and seconded to approve J, purchase requiring board approval. Is there any discussion?
Yes. On page 206, there's an item, a contractor vendor called Blackboard, which we have used for quite a number of years. And it looks like there's 3 different options for continuing their services, a 5-year option, a 3-year, and a 1-year. And I guess in my opinion, maybe we ought to just go for the 1-year contract. Maybe Jeff wants to talk about that a little bit, and maybe use this the next year to kind of evaluate Blackboard. I know the faculty uses Blackboard on a very, very continuous basis. So Jeff, why don't you just comment on that a little bit if you'd like?
Okay, sure. Good evening. So in front of you are 3 options. If you look at we are recommending the 5-year because it saves us the most money. But if we do a 5-year agreement with Blackboard, we'll only see a raise of 0.5% per year. 3 years, it's a 1.5 raise, and if we do annual, it'll be 3% per year. So if we did do a 1 year and then we renew next year it's going to be over $240,000 per year. Our faculty, we've used Blackboard 10 years now. In the 10 years that we've had it, I know of 1 faculty member that had a complaint about it. I think faculty have embraced Blackboard. They know how to use it. They know how to convey their classes to their students. We use it to web enhance our face-to-face, all of our online. We actually have intercession coming up, and I know there's 174 enrollments for that. That'll be completely on Blackboard. So we have support staff that do a great job of supporting our faculty staff on Blackboard. So I do recommend the 5-year. I think that it's a good product. There's other products out there. We haven't priced any other products, but the 5-year is what we're trying to push.
I mean, this is a pretty good size chunk of money, $1.5 million or so for the 5-year plan. Was there any opportunity, or is there any opportunity for getting bids from various vendors?
Well, you couldn't bid Blackboard from any other vendor because they're the vendor that it's proprietary for them. So anything that we bought, there would have to be retraining, integration. Some features may not be available that are available in Blackboard and vice versa, of course, but it would be a big undertaking to do a new LMS system.
Well, I guess in my opinion, it would be worth trying to have a look at it over the next 6 or 8 months to see what else is out there. We could. Oh, was our faculty saying no? Well, is it to evaluate another similar type system? Would it take a lot of involvement of the faculty?
Hi, I'm Mary Lou Watson, and I am in charge of Blackboard and the online learning. We started with WebCT 15 years ago. We moved to Blackboard 10 years ago. It takes a tremendous, and I mean a tremendous amount of time and effort to change LMSs and to retrain everybody to use a new LMS. We have, I would say 95% of our faculty use this software. We have put so much time and effort into making it something that's reliable for our faculty and for our students. Our students know how to use it. We have innumerable documents that we've created for this software. I mean, if you would decide to change software, it would be catastrophic for all of us. Because we have spent so much time and effort into making this successful, making Blackboard successful.
And Blackboard, I mean, they provide regular updates for new faculty, they provide training?
Yes, we have 3 support staff that work. I have two gals who work for me. One is our liaison with Blackboard. She's our admin. She works on the back end, and she makes sure that the software runs correctly. And she, excuse me, she works with the support services at Blackboard. And then we have another gal who spends her entire day helping faculty build classes, adding test banks, doing PowerPoints, making sure, helping students who need to use the software. We have a lab in the bottom of the nursing building, a Blackboard lab, where faculty and students can both come when they need help with the software. We run workshops. We send a monthly newsletter out with all the new things that Blackboard offers. There's all kinds of training and help and opportunities for faculty in this software. I mean, it would really be disruptive, incredibly disruptive, if we change software. Just FYI. And I'll be glad to answer any questions about our online. This is all of our online uses Blackboard, and then countless faculty, adjunct and full-time, use Blackboard to web enhance their classes, which means that they teach face-to-face, but they put their materials online. So students have access not only to the materials 24/7, but they also have access to their grades, to the ability to email and talk to the faculty outside of the classroom. Excuse me. So it's used almost universally across campus. Plus, we've built into the software organizations for HR, for help me out. Who else? For departments have organizations in the software where they can then put their materials for their particular group and work back and forth. I mean, it's, if you would like access, I would be more than happy to give you a username and password so that you could go in and look around. It's pretty amazing.
It sounds like it's very deeply embedded into our
Very deeply embedded.
into our infrastructure.
We've spent lots and lots. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you the number of hours we have spent building this up to be something to help our faculty and our students, and it does. It does.
Well, I mean, not to put you on the spot exactly, but would you recommend then the 5-year or the 3-year?
I would recommend the 5-year.
Oh, the 5-year?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely, because not only is it going to save us money, but it gives us a sense of security with this software, because
So,
it's...
I mean, so you don't foresee, or Jeff, you don't foresee changes in the future that would make it obsolete or make it not...
No, it's a very solid company.
They're keeping it up to date.
Yes,
You feel
oh,
they're not-
absolutely they are.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely they are. And we are moving our environment we have been managed in a managed hosted environment, which means that our courses have been on servers in Virginia for the last 10 years. We are moving in the week between spring and summer, we're moving our environment to the cloud, to something called SaaS, which is software as a service. And that will then allow Blackboard to continually and seamlessly update the software. So there will be no downtime for our students or for our faculty. And that's a process that Jeff has already helped us begin, and we're going to complete it because there has to be some downtime to do it, we're going to do it in the week between spring and summer.
You know, Kevin, you're asking for a board listening session. This is it. And this is what she's saying, so I think it's something that we should approve.
It is really the backbone of a lot of the things that we do here on campus. Thank you.
I'm convinced.
I do want to add, just by looking at the numbers, without everything that Mary Lou brought to the conversation, if you look at the year 1 renewal, just a 1-year renewal, it's more than year 5 of the 5-year renewal. So unless we're going to move, and we know we're going to move, 1 year doesn't make sense.
Any further discussion? You're recommending 5-year, that's what we're talking about. Correct, Jeff? Okay. Can I call for the vote?
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Laura, you handle the informational items, or whatever?
Yeah, I did just want to draw attention. The college is receiving a vehicle from the Ford Motor Company, so we want to acknowledge that. And then awarded grants and sponsored contracts are on page 263 through 265. If there's any questions. And then item O, are there any questions, I guess, on any of the grants and contracts, items N through, I guess, P? I guess if there are no questions, I know that Tim Rooney is here tonight as our staff presentation. As most of the board is aware, and everyone in our audience, our women's soccer team had an amazing season. And Sean, do you want to maybe introduce our soccer team, our coach, and I think we want to give some recognition as well to our radio broadcasting students.
So I am officially the parent of a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, but it makes me exceedingly proud to present these young ladies to you and their accomplishments, because I consider them part of my family as well. So for those of you who have not been following the exploits of the Lewis and Clark Community College women's soccer team, our team finished the year as Region 24 champs, district champs, and then a third place finish overall at nationals. There are multiple regional, district, tournament, All-American, and Player of the Year honors that I'll let the coach mention. But they fell short of, their championship goals, but we are proud of what they've done. They fought through injuries. They fought through opposition. Of course, they outscored people quite a bit, but we're proud of what they've done and how they represented this institution with class and distinction. And I will let our esteemed coach, Tim Rooney, introduce them and tell you a little bit more about their season.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'll just kind of give you an overview of what we did this year, and then I'm going to have each player come up, introduce themselves, and say where they're from and what city and all that, so everybody gets a feel for them. And I know they're all mad at me about that right now, but that's too bad. Hey, we really had a great year. We fought through a lot of injuries. We got to the tournament when we lost Jocelyn to an ACL, and then Candace come down with mono, so that knocked those two out, and it put us down to a couple subs. And when you're playing at the national tournament, you're playing against the best teams, and to be short-handed like that and to do what we did was really exceptional. And I think this year we end up winning our 15th region title, our 10th district title. And if you win the 10 districts, that means you're going to the nationals 10 times. So we think that's a pretty good mark. We had two, Candace, no, not Candace, sorry, Candace. Cassie and B, they made first team All-American. They made first team All-Tournament. We've had 4 regional winners. We had, 5 that just made the All-Central team first team, and that was Mercedes, our goalkeeper, Cassie, Sydney, our 2 center backs, Ellie, and who was the other one? Oh, B. How can I forget B? So that's pretty important to have 5 out of 13. The other thing was, I can't divulge their names, but we did have 2 first-team All-Americans, 1 second-team All-American, and then we have 1 player that's up for Player of the Year. She's a finalist, so there's 4 of them that are in that pool. I know everything because I'm on that board, but we're not allowed to give those names out or anything until they officially announce it through the coaches convention. So we end up doing very well from an individual standpoint. We did very well as a team standpoint. This was a very good group. I think, and I know this for a fact, I only had 1 day where I was not happy with them. And I just called practice off, said that's it. See you tomorrow. He showed up the next day, and I kind of explained to him where I thought they could go, that they need to push themselves every day. And that was the only time I've ever had to do anything negative with them. They were just great this year. So I want to let each of them come up and say who they are, give you some information, and then if you got questions, we'll give you some answers. If we know them. If we don't know them, then I'll have to get back with you. So we'll start with Sydney. One of my favorites.
Okay. I'm Sydney Schmidt. I'm from here, Godfrey. Just lived right down the road. I'm a sophomore. Don't know where I'm going yet. That's all I got.
Emma?
I'm Emma Lucas. I'm from here. I went to Roxana. I'm a sophomore, and I'm studying elementary education.
And you're done. Cassie?
I'm Cassie Hall. I'm from Bethalto, Illinois, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Olivia Cadwell, and I'm from O'Fallon, Missouri, and I'm a sophomore.
What do you want, one or two?
I'm Chelsea Ryden. I'm from Troy, Illinois, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Kara Crutchley. I'm from Wood River, Illinois, and I'm a freshman.
Hi, Jenna.
I'm Jenna Robinson. I'm from Bethalto, Illinois, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Ellie Kiley. I'm from O'Fallon, Missouri, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Carly Smith. I'm from Springfield, Illinois, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Candace Paziani. I'm a freshman, and I'm from Gold Coast, Australia.
I'm Sabrina Burns, and I'm from Brighton, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Nikki Grellner, and I'm a sophomore, and I'm from St. Charles, Missouri.
I'm Jocelyn Wagner, and I'm from Edwardsville, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Peyton Corley, and I'm from St. Peters, Missouri, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Mercedes King. I'm from Troy or Triad, Illinois, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Witumela Rabale from Lesotho, a small country landlocked in South Africa. I'm a sophomore.
So if you got questions, we answer them. If not, we'll get the hell out of here. I guess we can go.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for inviting us.
I also want to acknowledge that we had 2 radio broadcast students who went. Nathan Piercy and Tanner Hendrickson both broadcasted for WLCA. I actually got calls from someone in the community saying what a great job they did. So, we were able to sit at our desk and listen to the game on the radio, which was great for us and for all those people who are streaming. Lots of parents who weren't able to go to those games could listen to those games live on the radio, so it meant a lot. Is Nathan here? Okay.
How's everybody doing tonight? First off, I want to say thank you to everybody involved for us going. I want to start off by saying thank you to the athletic department, Coach Rooney and the rest of the team for allowing us to go. And I don't think we were a burden, but if we were, they didn't show it. I want to thank everybody back here at home that helped us with our broadcast, whether it be other students, our station engineer, Dave Carnes, our station manager, Mike Lemons. He helped a lot with just giving small tips in terms of our broadcast, whether it was before, during, or after. Really, the experience was fantastic. I know Tanner and I, unfortunately, Tanner couldn't be here. He's broadcasting a hockey game on our station right now, actually. We had a fantastic time, and really seeing what it would be like to be, I guess, a professional broadcaster, I guess is the best way to put it, and to really see what it would be like to do all of that and the experience we got from not only broadcasting the game, but also interviewing players and getting that real-time interview. And then, not everything went our way. We had a couple plans for ways to enhance the broadcast, and it didn't work. So it also showed us a way to really move on our feet and quickly dispatch one way to enhance the broadcast if the original way didn't work. So once again, I want to thank everybody involved with getting us there, and we just really had a fun time.
Thank you. I also want to just point out during the week that we were celebrating the soccer team and the national attention that they were garnering. We also received notice that Lewis and Clark had been named by the Aspen Institute as one of the top 150 community colleges in the nation. So Dr. Linda Chapman's here to say a little more about that.
Thank you, Lori. It's another team. It's a team that I'm very proud of. It's a team of faculty, academic staff, enrollment center staff, all of you who have been working for the past 10 years to research your own teaching and your students' learning, and then to find ways to make it better. I'm very proud of all of you. The Student Success Team fits into this in terms of their work over the last 10 years to try to improve student success, student retention, persistence, certainly completion, but also the work that the faculty do in writing annual performance objectives. What was meant to be a course-level research project has really informed campus-wide practices, improving student success, which we define as grades of A, B, and C, persistence, which is fall to spring semester, retention, which is the 2 years that we want them here in order to complete. So we really weren't too surprised when we were nominated, because we've been watching this database that all colleges have to use to input our grades, persistence, completion, tenure, retention rates. And so we saw that in comparison to our peer groups, we were really edging up there. It's still thrilling to be named for this Aspen Award. This is a 2-year process that you engage in with this group, and they're funded completely by 4 different grants. And their thinking is how to improve what we're doing in community college education. So our team is very proud of it. Thank you.
I guess we'll just move on with discussion items. Your construction status report is on page 318 of your board book. As you can see, it's getting shorter because as you look outside, our lighting project is complete finally. So we were able to take that off of the report. Just a quick note on the Riverbend Arena project. We did the walkthrough yesterday. The second floor is nearly done. We've got all of the carpeting and flooring is in, all of the trim is up. We are just waiting on furniture, and I'm sure Sean is anxiously waiting on furniture to get his staff moved back over. So other than a storage area on the first floor, we will be fully functional, and everything, again, is within budget. So still waiting on that main complex foundation improvement project approval from CDB. Are there any questions?
I have an update on House Bill 3944, page 319.
Obviously, this was a request for an update by the board. I haven't directly been involved in this, so what I know about this bill is what's been presented on page 319 and what we've heard this evening. It would give the student member of the Lewis and Clark Board of Trustees a vote rather than a non-voting student member. It permits the Board of Trustees of any other community college district to elect and allow a student member to be a voting student member. It also provides that if a board decides to terminate or not renew the employment contract of the president, then for 1 year after that decision was voted upon, no person who was a member of the board at that time of the vote may be selected to serve as president of a community college. We know that this was introduced on October 29th, and it was approved by the Higher Education Committee, but has not been called for a vote otherwise. I've also been told by Dr. Chapman that it was a discussion among the Illinois Community College presidents, and they voted and agreed to stay neutral in terms of their involvement with the bill.
I wanted to comment about this. I wanted to let the public know that the majority of the board was unaware, was not made aware by the president of our college that this bill was being introduced. And I feel that that's a great breach of duty by our executive because this bill would severely change the management of the college, and in my opinion, it would make it an ineffective management. When the legislature designed these community colleges, they put an odd number of people on the board for a reason, and they did that so that you wouldn't have stalemate, you wouldn't have tie votes constantly. And we all know from the way things have been going around here, we probably would have a lot of 4-4 votes. I found out about this bill the day that it was supposed to be heard in public hearing in Springfield. So I decided to drive up there. I looked at the witness slips that were filed online, and I saw that there were many proponents, most of them from the college, so I knew that people here at the college were aware of this bill, but I, as a board member, had not been made aware of it by our president, which I just find that very upsetting. So I went up there and testified. I listened at the hearing, and I voiced my opposition to the bill. I am opposed to this bill because, as I said, it would cause the board to have an even number of members, which is asking for trouble. Even if we can get through, issues now, who knows in the future what boards will be like, so you might risk having a stalemate. Other concerns are that the elections of the student trustee are not governed by state of Illinois. The way our elections are for the Board of Trustees, there are rules set up for a reason. And so that's completely unregulated territory. So right now you could have a student trustee who was elected by, maybe a few hundred people. I don't know how many vote in those elections, but might not be a member, might not live in the district, might not even be a U.S. citizen. So those are some concerns that were raised at the committee hearing. When I testified, there were only 2 legislators at the hearing who said anything in support of the bill, and that was Monica Bristow, who introduced the bill, and also Katie Stewart. Katie Stewart thought it would be a good idea because they've done this at SIU and Carbondale, but the difference there is that those are not funded by taxpayers. Or those board members are not elected by taxpayers, but not in elections, and those are appointed. So that's a difference between those boards. And really, no one could really come up with anything positive to say about the bill. The hearing went on for, it seemed like a long time to me because I was sitting up there at the table, but nobody could really come up with any good reason why. And the biggest concern is that, this was only just for Lewis and Clark, and it was optional. So it would be mandated for Lewis and Clark to require their student trustee to be a voting member, but it is optional for all the other community colleges in the state. And there was really no reason why that Monica could come up with that, made that a good idea. I think that's about it. I just wanted everybody to know that I'm against this bill, and I think it's a bad idea, and it really bothers me that our executive did not work with the board if she's concerned about the way the board was structured. We should have worked on this together, and it shouldn't have been done behind our back.
I would like to say something. I'm upset as a trustee that I have not been privy to critical actions taken by this board.
Any other comments on that item? Gabe, did you want to address the board listening sessions? You and Lori and I talked about that.
Gabe Springer. So Lori Artis and I had met with Chairman Hyan here within the last couple of weeks to talk about setting up some listening sessions across campus here over the next couple of months and attempting to kind of come up with a strategic plan to be able to give two board members at one time the opportunity to meet with members of the faculty, members of the staff in some conducted sessions. So we at this time, because of the Open Meetings Act, the whole board cannot meet, more than two people on the board cannot meet with staff directly. But I think the idea was there are a lot of things here that can't be necessarily discussed during the constraints of a board meeting, but I believe all 7 of the board members at some time when we're able to come up with a plan would like the opportunity to sit down and have some one-on-one or group sessions with employees. So Chairman Hyan has asked Lori and I to come up with some plans in concert with him that can be scheduled and discussed with the board. And I think the opportunity to do that would hopefully be over the spring once we come back after the winter break.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like me to add, or is that?
That you summed it up, our meeting pretty well. Any other comments from the board?
My comment. I think it's a great idea that the board interacts with the staff and gets to know them. But I also think it would be a great idea for them to get to know some of the students as well. I try to represent the student voice, and I do my very best, but I feel there is a lot of discord, and I don't want that to be representative of Lewis and Clark. I want us to go forward with compromise and good intentions, not for any agendas or separation, but for the good overall of the college. And I commend that effort for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item X, inventory of property for Lewis and Clark Community College. That was, we can discuss it. It was primarily for information. Any discussion on the property that Lewis and Clark Community College owns or rents? I have a question. Mary, you put this together, and thank you. Someone came to me and said that I thought Lewis and Clark inherited a farm, and the 270, 111, whatever area, and it's not on here, so evidently we didn't. Okay.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were referencing the Calvin Whitlock Trust. It's not college property. It's owned by what's the bank? It's not in that area, no. But if you know of someone who'd like to donate some land.
If you're talking about the Whitlock Trust, that's a farm in Jersey County. That wasn't, yeah. I don't know of a farm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question regarding inventory of assets. Are there more detailed records? I mean, there was a nice summary of locations and ownership and that, but for instance, is there a detailed inventory of computer equipment, who the serial number, who was assigned to, or what department, artwork, audiovisual equipment, anything above a certain value, of course?
We have a fixed asset system that will track all of that. Of course, we're not tracking leases. This request was for property owned and not owned but leased. So, we have a fixed asset that tracks anything over $5,000 and depreciates, and all, the artwork, that type of thing. This isn't part of that.
Now we've come to executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move that the board be adjourned to closed session.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Need a roll call on that?
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain, Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
We will now ask the members of the public who are attending the meeting to excuse the board as they will leave the room to enter into a closed session. We anticipate adjourning the closed session and reconvening the open portion of the meeting after the closed session is completed. The minutes will show that the open session was adjourned at 8:18. Thank you. The minutes will show that the closed session was adjourned at what was the time? 10:31. The board has returned to the meeting room, and we are now back in open session at 10:36. Action items. I have an action item on the president's employment. Do we have a motion to address A and B of action item?
I have a motion to approve a separation and resignation agreement with Dr. Dale Chapman dated 12/10/19 based on the terms and conditions of the discussed in executive session.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Any discussion? No discussion. We'll have roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
McCain. Hyan.
Yes. A and B passed. Next is a motion to appoint an interim president and an assistant interim president. And I guess I should suggest the names here. Need a motion to appoint as interim president Lori Artis. Are you Dr. Lori Artis, and appoint as Brett Reinert as an assistant interim president. That will be the motion. Is there someone to make that motion to appoint those two?
So move. Oh,
Bob Watson.
I'll second it.
Been made. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Tolgetsky.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
McCain. Wertz.
Yes.
Hyan.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
I have a statement here for the board. While it is the policy of the college and the Board of Trustees not to comment publicly regarding personal decisions, the board's action tonight reflects a desire to move the institution forward in a new direction. The Board of Trustees certainly appreciates Dr. Chapman's years of devoted dedication and service to the college, but it believes now is the time to begin making the transition for the future of the college. While we appreciate there might be concerns for employees and others in the community, the board does not make this decision lightly without considering the impact that Dr. Chapman's 30 years of service have had on this college and on many constituents. We recognize some employees and community members might not identify a need for this early transition, but we ask for everyone's understanding that the board believes it is acting in the best and long-term interest of the college by selecting as the interim president Dr. Lori Artis and the assistant interim president Brett Reinert. Thank you. Next item. AD, appoint a trustee member to, could we table that so we can move along? Could we get a motion to table A and D? Yes.
I move that we table the motion to select a trustee for the Illinois Community College Trustees Association.
Is there a second to that? Bob seconds. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Watson. McCain. Wertz.
Yes.
Hyan.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Motion passed. We're now at A and E, approval of grant or sponsored contract opportunities, page 322 through 327.
Motion.
Motion to approve the grant or sponsored contract opportunities. Second for that? Second. Brenda seconds. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
McCain. Wertz.
Yes.
Hyan.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Item AF, approval of salary increases to comply with the FLSA new rules, page 328. Motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky.
Yes.
McCain. Wertz.
Yes.
Hyan.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Item AG, 2020-2021 Career and Technical Education Programs Advisory Committee Handbook. Motion to approve that? Bob?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded to approve AG. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Watson, Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
McCain, Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes. Item AH, approval to enter into an agreement with the Poly Group to conduct a presidential search. Is there a motion to approve that?
So move.
Motion been made, a second? Okay. Okay, Mr. Hanfield, second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to discuss that.
Okay.
There's different pricing on here, depending on what method you decide. What is the total cost going to be for that?
Lori, Gabe, can you? Okay.
Mr. Wertz, we would expect the total cost to be in the neighborhood of $50,000. Basically, the Poly Group has two separate options, and it's all-inclusive pricing. So the pricing for the search beginning to finish with 4 on-site visits would be $52,000, not including applicant travel. We believe because of the fact that they're located in Springfield, there are options that we can negotiate that down to a lower price. We won't need air travel included, which typically they are going to do nationwide searches. To go at the lower cost where they would do essentially things without all of the process, without those on-site visits, the cost is in the mid-40s. So I think the goal here would be to negotiate a price with the Poly Group that would be in between those two figures, so between 45 and 52. But we don't believe the cost will certainly not exceed 52 for the cost of the Poly Group's work.
Now, you have on-site, people come on-site to interview them, you're going to have to pay their expenses?
Yeah, I mean, we will have on-site work with the Poly Group. I think the major costs in that all-inclusive travel would involve the airfare travel, the hotel, kind of the extra cost that would go with the consulting fees.
So you're talking $50,000 to $60,000?
No, it should be in between 45 and 52.
Okay.
And that I would assume that we'll have the power to negotiate that with the Poly Group. And one of the major reasons that they stuck out was not only their exclusive work with community colleges, but also their understanding of Illinois policy and all of the things that go along with the Illinois budget process. Being located in Springfield, we felt like that was the best group that we surveyed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Call for the roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson, McCain, Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen, Johnson.
Yes.
AI, approve the financial services agreement with Spear Financial, the engagement letter dated November 20, 2019, issuance of general obligation bonds to finance certain cash flow needs, and engagement letter dated November 20, 2019, the issuance of general obligation bonds to refund certain outstanding obligations. This is page 375, 417. Is there a motion to approve that? Mr. Watson makes the motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Dwight, second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Watson. Yes. Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
McCain.
Item AJ, appoint Mary Schulte as treasurer. Motion been made in second. Any discussion? If not, call for a roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
McCain, Watson. Yes. Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
AK, approval of fiscal year 2021 tuition and fees. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Is there a second? Discussion on tuition and fees.
Yeah, I have some discussion. There may have been a little, I don't know, information kind of left out here to me. Our tuition currently is $125 an hour. And we're proposing an increase of a 4% increase to $130. And when I look at the peer average, we always want to talk about, we want to be compared to our peers, similar type community colleges. Our peer average is $115. So we would be $15 higher than than our peers. And I know we don't like to compare ourselves to SWIC necessarily, but SWIC is at 113. So I don't see that we're being very competitive. And nowadays we need to be competitive because we don't want our tuition to discourage students from attending Lewis and Clark. So I would be opposed to that tuition increase. And I think the fee is also in that same motion. And there again,
Athletic fees. That's athletic fees.
Well, yeah, athletic fee is being proposed to be increased from $14 to $19. And that in itself is a pretty substantial increase. And as compared to, once again, so that our total fees, including athletic fee, is $28, and our peer group is $19. I don't know why we're so much higher. And once again, I'll just throw SWIC in. They're at $9. So something's out of whack there. So I think this motion should not be passed, and we should just table this discussion until a later time.
Any other comment?
Whenever I was at the student government meeting on Wednesday, they proposed perhaps maybe doing half of that instead of doing the full $10 amount, if the money was necessary to cover additional sports fees or whatever the fees may go towards. If a raise is necessary, perhaps doing half of it instead of the full $10.
I was thinking about this on fees. I don't know, we'd have to ask the attorney whether we could do this or if it's, plausible.
What's the question?
The question is, can we have naming rights to the soccer field or the basketball court, baseball court, diamond, get people to donate money or sponsor that? Can we do that? Is that legal? If we need more money, it seems to me that there hasn't been a real effort to control maybe some of the fees. What goes into that. It seems like there would be room for that adjustment, but I was thinking outside the box that is it legal to do that, to have naming rights to various places?
I would have to look into the naming right aspect, but a lot of public schools and colleges do sell advertising, signboards of that nature at their football and different athletic fields. So the naming rights would be something we could look into for the college if you had a sponsor that was willing to spend money for naming rights. I don't know necessarily who might be interested in that, but if you had somebody, we could certainly look into it.
Do we have to approve this tonight? What are the ramifications if we wait till January? Because I think we're all pretty worn out.
The main deadline with the tuition is that we have the information in time to put it in the catalog and publish it online. We have approved it as late as January before, so I'm pretty sure that, I don't think Jeff's here, but I don't anticipate that would be a problem. Just a few talking points, though, that I would add is the $5 is a $357,500 amount based on current credit hours. As we discussed in October, we need that in order to keep athletics off of the operating budget. That's where we are unique. At this point, Lewis and Clark does not supplement its athletics programs through operating funds. So that would be a side effect of not approving this. And then when it comes to the tuition, and I hear what you're saying, another thing to look at is I've been listening to you request that we try to move more technology expenses from our bond funds to perhaps operating funds, or to find another source for those. So if you want us to be successful at doing that in any way, we're not going to be able to cut the revenue streams and accomplish that in any capacity. Just things to think about.
We wouldn't be cutting the revenue streams, right? We'd be increasing them, right?
We would be increasing them, but like at the grocery store, costs go up. So we need increased revenue in some manner in order to pay increased costs.
Mary, you said we don't supplement our athletic?
We do not with
So
our operating funds.
we don't know if SWIC's numbers are, if they're supplementing them.
I do not know what they do. I would have to believe either they have a very small athletic program, or they're paying for that in another way.
So those numbers are not apples and oranges?
You have to know the details
Right.
behind it.
I think it's just the concern I have is I want our focus to be on education and increasing enrollment. So I feel like increasing tuition doesn't accomplish one of my goals is increasing enrollment. So that's the concern I have. And then the athletic fees, I just feel like I need more information to determine if that's worth it. And I think we were supposed to get a report of, what all that money is spent on, or did I get it and not know it?
No, and I was going to suggest if this motion is going to be tabled, I know Sean Hill has been working on that, and I think it would be good to look at as a big picture.
I've been given one report on the athletic program in general. What they didn't receive from Sean is the by sport. No, shortly after our special October meeting, so late October, early November. And actually, I think it came in two different ways. The second one with additional notes.
Well, we can either vote it yes or no, but I don't know, unless you want to amend it to table this. If you don't want to table it, and no more discussion, motion has been made and seconded. We're having a discussion. We could make another amendment right now. Then we'd vote on the amendment and then the motion. Or we can just. Okay. Okay, I call for the vote then. Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
No.
Wertz,
No.
McCain, Hyen,
No, I don't want to approve the.
Johnson,
No.
Rust,
No.
Hanfelder,
No.
Watson.
Approval, AL, approval of project labor agreement with Southwestern Illinois Building.
Sorry, he hasn't answered yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wasn't quite sure what the motion.
This is to approve the tuition and fees that were proposed.
Okay. There's a motion to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Robert, I thought you had voted. Okay, AL, approval of project labor agreement with the Southwestern Illinois Building and Construction Trades, page 420 through 434. Is there a motion to approve it?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
There's discussion.
Oh, okay.
When we talked about this at the last meeting, I think there was some hope that we'd be able to work out some sort of a compromise or whatever with the Trades Council. And what we're looking at is the same $125,000 threshold that's been in existence since 2009, I believe, right? And I would have hoped that the union would have come back and agreed to some sort of at least a little inflationary increase. I mean, this is the state of Illinois, I believe, is encouraging community colleges to raise that threshold in order to open up more business to female and minority-owned enterprises. I don't know why we can't get that to get the Trades Council to go along with that.
I can address that. You are correct that at our earlier meeting, we had discussed having a higher threshold in the project labor agreement for projects that would not be subject to the agreement to possibly allow more minority and female owned businesses to qualify for some of those projects without having to use organized labor in the completion of the projects. I think initially the board had sought $200,000, an increase from $125,000. Dr. Chapman and I had a discussion with the council and had proposed the $200,000 and had a discussion on it. They had taken it back to a vote. We had suggested a lower limit, and they followed up and said that they were unable to approve increasing it beyond the $125,000 limit. So the college at that point was faced with not having a project labor agreement with the council, or moving forward with the $125,000 as initially proposed by the Building and Trades Council.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain? Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Motion passed. Now we're at AM, approval of Resolution 20-3, 2019 tax levy. Motion to approve. Bob makes the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Dwight, second. Any discussion?
Yes. On page, looking at page 435 is where the details of the resolution are. I compared our levy request for last year, 2018, to this year, and the request is substantially higher. If you exclude the additional item, which we voted on last time, we voted to make it 3.55 cents. If you exclude that, we're asking for a levy increase of 7%, and I'm just wondering how that was arrived at. I mean, I know there's a lot of guesstimates in trying to figure out what to do on this levy request, but I'm still wondering what the logic was for having it increase that much.
Well, as we discussed yesterday evening,
Yeah.
you can't really compare levy request on one year to levy request of the next year.
And that's because you don't actually get what was requested, you get something,
Right,
you get a
it's an
different number.
extension.
Yeah.
You have to look at the actual extension. So how are these numbers determined? They're determined in a couple of different ways. Some of the funds are rate-based, the education fund, the O&M fund, the PHS fund. Some of them are dollar-based, like the tort liability fund and the audit fund. So to determine those dollar-based amounts, I do a review of the budget and the money that has been received, what our actual expenditures have been, what we project expenditures might be, and come up with an amount that I believe will hopefully meet those. For example, and I'm not saying that's the case this year, but let's say that I think I've got on here $164,000 for workers' comp. If our workers' comp costs should come in at $190,000, so the next year in the levy I'd be looking to make up that difference. So we're looking at where we are in all these individual categories when I prepare these numbers. So assuming that the liability fund and the audit fund stay static as to where they are, the percentage funds will fluctuate based on the EAV amounts. So if EAV goes up 1%, goes up 2%, that changes the amounts that we could potentially get. So what did I use to arrive at the numbers I have on here today? I'm using an EAV increase of 4.74%. I arrived at that amount because that is essentially what the EAV could increase, and we would be at that 105 or right below the 105% of last year's extension. So what this does for us is if EAV goes up 4%, we will get what that 4% number would be. It's unlikely to be exactly 4.74%. Last year it was 3.94%. However, if we undershoot this number and I only put out a levy that is at 1%, if it goes up to the 3.94% of last year, we lose that in between. So my goal here is to present a levy at the highest rate that keeps us compliant with truth in taxation, not requiring a hearing or the black box ad, so that we have the most flexibility based on what the EAV increase may actually come in at. And it is, as you said, a lot of estimates. We're guessing what EAV might be. We're using budget amounts, which are not, the only thing that's 100% firm is what's behind us.
I know this is a pretty complex thing, as you illustrated to me pretty well yesterday. But my concern, of course, is what do our taxpayers see? What will they see on their tax statements? And of course, that's dependent on what is the EAV.
Mm-hmm. Which we will not know till late spring. We have to set the levy in December. We're going to be facing the same thing a year from now. That's just how the calendar is.
Well, if my tax bill goes up, I may be looking for a lunch.
I'm pretty.
I'll put it, if it goes up more than 2%, how about that?
I'm not responsible for your tax bill. But that is the analysis that goes behind the numbers that I presented tonight.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Tulgetsky,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
McCain.
Yes.
Okay, and approval of resolution 20-4 abatement series 2014.
Right, This resolution and the resolution that follows are for the abatement of the bond payments on certain bond issues. As part of the sale, when the bonds were sold, the agreement was that the payments would be abated. So Resolution 20-4 and 20-5 addresses that for two of the bond issues. The two bond issues that we abate, it's the only two.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 20-4. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain? Wertz?
Yes.
Hyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
AO, approval of Resolution 20-5, Abatement Series 2015B, page 438. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded to approve Resolution 20-5. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
McCain? Hyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
AP, approval of Resolution 20-6, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds that is alternate revenue source in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,045,000 for the purpose of defraying the ordinary and necessary cost of operating the district. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I would like to wait on this and not do this meeting, so I'm going to vote no.
Any other comments? This is increasing the bond indebtedness of the taxpayers if this is approved.
Yeah, I think I think I remember reading that in the overall picture, our actual debt level would not go up based on the 5 million. That's why I think Dr. Chapman picked that figure of 5 million out. But the real point of this is that we're borrowing money to pay for our operating expenses. Possibly with a combination in there that is, well, it's not all operating expenses. Some of it is Jeff would call, hey, this is new software we need to buy, or this is new hardware we need to buy. So, it's kind of like a capital piece that way, I suppose. Right, Jeff? Please nod. Okay. So, I'd have to tell you, I'm really on the fence on this.
I think, again, as you think about this, did it die? So as we think about this, the important thing to remember is we want to couple any new money with the refinancing of the other bonds, only from the standpoint that Tom needs to know how to structure the payments and what we want to do with the bond and interest rate. So it's hard to make one decision now. We can't back up in 6 months and say, I wish we'd done that differently. So that's my comment.
I mean, I guess there's a question for Julie. I mean, are you talking about waiting a month, 2 months, or a year, or a month? Okay. Well, what I mean, if
He
let's
says
just
it's
say,
fine.
let's just say we didn't, a month would be okay.
Yeah.
Well, if a month would be okay, maybe we ought to just let it.
What does
let
that
it
do
go,
to
but-
our timeline, though, as far as being able to get the most benefit from the efficiencies now?
I know we're good.
So it doesn't really change the overall timeline that we discussed previously at the November meeting. In general, unfortunately, we've missed truly coupling the two issues together and enjoying the benefits of economies of scale. So we're talking about two separate issues anyway. So this month or next month doesn't really matter. It just means our ending date is in June instead of May for this second new money piece. What Mary's referring to more on a theoretical basis, which is true, is that we want to continue to have discussions between now and January. And I think it would be helpful for the board to solidify in their mind the path that we're on, whether there will be new money that we're planning for, so that we can continue to make the right decisions on the refunding, which we plan to finalize in January to take advantage of low interest rates and lock in that savings. So I would encourage discussion, which is all that's required in the interim before the January meeting, whether or not you'll be going forward at that time.
I just want to get clear in my mind how much money there's left in the tech fund, when it's going to run out, and how if there's any costs we can trim out of there or pay for in another way. And I just don't think I have enough information to make a decision, because originally I thought we had another year or two left in there.
We do have a little time left, but again, Tom needs to know if we're going to do this 18 months down the road so he can build that in the payment structure. But right now, tech balance as of 11/30/19 is $6.3 million. At 6/30/19, we had $7.6 million. So we've spent $1.3 million so far in 5 months. In 5 months. Now, I will say that if we start comparing the numbers, what we're doing this year to previous years, I've kind of been on the fence. There's things that we would have done with the tech plan in the past that I haven't done yet, waiting to see what this year looks like. I know, Julie, when we talked before, I told you that for the first time in fiscal year 19, we were in a position to actually shift some of the technology expenditures from the tech plan into the operating funds. I'm kind of waiting to see if we're in that kind of position again, because our expenditures for the tech plan in fiscal year 19 were $2.8 million. The year before was $3.8 million. Now, I will say that I moved about $2 million, so we were right under $5 million before those transfers took place. So when we discussed budget back in June, $5 million was the number that we were talking about for a year. Okay.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Tulgetsky,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain, Hyen.
No.
I'm so sorry. What?
No.
No, it rattled. Johnson,
No.
Rust,
No.
Hanfelder.
No.
That concludes the business. I declare adjournment.